All right, let's finish out Friday night. We've got the Mountain West Championship. This is our first one with real stakes, guys. I guess if you squint and the committee just defies all logic, Army's technically ranked, and if they blow out Tulane, maybe it impresses them enough to move up a bunch of spots. But being 4 spots behind number 20 UNLV kind of takes playoff contention out of there. But this game has a ton of stakes, not just a Mountain West Championship, but of course a spot in the playoff on the line. Maybe 2 spots in the playoff all on the line. I'll explain that in just a second. Number 20 UNLV at number 10 Boise State. This game's played at Albertson Stadium in Boise, Idaho on the Smurf turf. Broncos are 4-point favorites, 7 o'clock Friday on Fox. Boise, of course, came from behind to win 29-24 in Vegas on October 25th. And UNLV was really, really good defensively in that game. They held Boise to their third lowest yardage output all year. They held Ashton Genty pretty much in check, but he did score a touchdown in that one, I believe. And both teams have been really good since that game. UNLV's 4-0 with an average margin of victory of 14.5. Boise is 5-0 with an average margin of victory of 16. So both teams peaking at the right time. Garrett and I already had this discussion on the live show Tuesday night, Mitch, but I want to get your take here. Should Boise State be in regardless, based on the logic of the college football playoff committee, ranking them ahead of Alabama and putting them at number 10 and Alabama at number 11?
Yeah, the answer is yes. If you're telling me that teams who are at home cannot be moved up and cannot be preferred because there's not an extra data point, then you can't punish the teams that did earn that ability to get the extra data point. The only way that those teams should be able to move is up. And so for me, the fact that Boise State is currently in above Alabama, you can't suddenly tell me, unless they just get blown out 70-0, some unholy result that completely breaks all logic and reason, then I think you have a discussion. But otherwise, you cannot punish the Broncos according to that logic and say, we put you in above Alabama until you went and lost your conference championship game. And now all of a sudden we're going to punish you for that. That makes zero sense. So Boise State absolutely should be in, even with a loss. I think that would have so many folks hopping mad. You talk about the brand bias from the big 3 and 4 letter networks that would not go over well in the boardrooms with the stakeholders. And I think that's where you have the potential to see Boise get kicked out if they lose to UNLV, because there's just so much money on it. I've said it week in and week out. Unfortunately, with the way that everything's set up, this is not a BCS formula. This is not an unbiased statistical model. We're dealing with folks in that committee room that have very real dollars and cents on the line based on how many teams in their conference get into the dance. And so I really hope for Boise State's sake that we don't have to have this argument, that we don't have to rue a loss in the conference championship. But transitioning into my pick, I'll tell you, I think UNLV keeps it close. I think this spread is 4 for a reason. UNLV is 10th in rushing defense in the country. And I know they're going on the road, but rushing defense travels. We've seen that time and time again this season. Boise State has the 3rd ranked scoring offense, but so much of that is predicated on Ashton Genty being able to put up big yards and big points. I think UNLV keeps this close like they did last time. I'll take Boise State to win. Nothing's knocked me off of that preseason projection where I had the Broncos winning this game, but I do think the Rebs cover and make it a very, very entertaining game on a Friday night.
Yeah, Mitch, to one thing that you said at the very beginning of your statement was you said, according to that logic, Mitch, we're not dealing with logical creatures here. We're dealing with the College Football Playoff Committee, and that's not a logic-based profession. That's just a ratings-based and a money-based profession. So I don't think you can hold them to a logical position, even if they have expressed it outwardly. But yeah, I mean, I think you're probably right that this is closer than a lot of people expect it to be. I just kind of think Boise's going to find a way to cover, because I think they realize, not that they have to cover it, I think they know that they're in regardless, but I think there's a piece of them that say, okay, like, we played y'all the first time around, and I think we realized we got lucky to get out of there. We want to make a statement this time around. We want to, help you out. And if for nothing else, I think Ashton Genty is kind of sitting here like, this is my last big moment to kind of prove that I should be the guy holding that trophy at the end of the year. It shouldn't be, the other people. It should be me. I should be the guy that gets to do that. And he gets a chance to, stand alone as the lone guy still left in the race that's even playing this weekend. So I think this is a big moment for him. I think he realizes that. I don't want to say legacy game because I don't know that that's necessarily where we are here, but I wouldn't be shocked if he has a massive night, a special night, and gets his Heisman moment.
Yeah, that's a great point, Garrett, because he is going to be on national TV on Friday night and have not a standalone audience, but a lot of eyeballs on him while Travis Hunter is sitting at home and not playing in championship week. So the same logic that we use for playoff committee might be used for the Heisman race. I know that the odds are very long for that right now. I'm not ignorant of that, but that's a great point that Ashton Jeanty is going to want to ball out in this one. Boise State's also a different animal at home, guys. They've struggled a little bit, played some close games. The Hawaii game was close late. Wyoming was way too close for comfort against a bad Cowboys team. Most of those stinkers, though, have been on the road. They did play a close one against Nevada a few weeks ago at the beginning of November, but most of their stinkers have been on the road. I think they're a different animal at home. I'm going to take Boise to cover the spread, 4 points, and clinch that spot in the playoff, and thankfully not make the committee have to make a difficult decision. Don't hear what I'm saying there. I'm not rooting against UNLV per se, but I just really don't want to give the committee more power to leave out. I think a deserving Boise State team, their only losses, if they were to lose this one, would be to a ranked UNLV team, which they already beat earlier this year on the road, and the number one team in the country, the Oregon Ducks, and they played Oregon closer than everybody but Ohio State. So I think they have a really good resume, and if it were me in that room, I'd be standing on the table to leave them in no matter what.
I also want to make one more just quick point on Boise State, and I want to give this man his due. Maddox Madsen, I think, deserves a lot of credit. He's been kind of overshadowed this year. Obviously, nobody's really talking about him, but he's very quietly thrown for 21 touchdowns with only 3 picks. He's been extremely good, extremely effective with the football in his hand, and I think that he's done a really good job of leading this team and not making the big mistakes, right? This is, again, you have to remember, this is a guy who Malachi Nelson transfers in, to kind of be the heir apparent and say, like, hey, this is my team, here I go. This guy not only beat him out in, the spring and in the fall and wins the job, but then he goes out there, doesn't make the big mistakes. It would have been really easy to say, well, we got this generational guy at running back. You make a couple mistakes, have a bad game early, we can go to the other guy. And instead, he just holds his job. He leads his team. He takes care of business. This is as much his team with the selflessness he has. I just want to shout him out. I know that, it's weird to say that I want to make sure the quarterback's getting enough praise here. But for Boise State, I just don't think the quarterback's getting quite enough praise for the job that he's done to get this team to this position. This is the third-ranked scoring offense, and it's not all Ashton Jeanty.
That's fair. Yeah, Maddox Madsen has you guys remember my Mountain West preview thoughts this year where I was like, oh my gosh, they lost I can't even remember his name now, the USC transfer, that I was freaking out that he wasn't the starter and it was some kid named Maddox Madsen.
Malachi Nelson, yeah.
Malachi Nelson, thank you.
Yeah.
I couldn't even remember. That's how irrelevant.
He's thrown 17 passes this year for Boise State, if that tells you how irrelevant he's been to their success.
Right. So also one more thing about this game, I think we'll get Gus Johnson calling a game on the Smurf turf because Fox does not have a Saturday game. I was surprised to learn that the Big Ten championship is on CBS this year. So product of 2024, if I've ever seen one. So
gracious him, how about